Welcome to 10,000 Women, 10,000 Stages. Empowering women like you to amplify your voice, your message, your movement. We believe that if 10,000 new women stepped into high-level leadership platforms, we can transform the industries across the planet. 10,000 Women, 10,000 Stages. And now your host, Narissa Street.
Yay! All right, awesome. Cool. Thank you. So, great to talk with you. So, great to finally being able to connect with you. After
Definitely
after the Black Women Writers Virtual Summit, that was really great. So I'm glad that
it was awesome.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, like I sat on so many calls. I have so many notes. Like, it was exciting. Just to be and listen to Black women writers and publishers and just all of that. It was everything.
Yeah, it was great. So I'm glad that you were able to be a part, and I'm glad that we were able to connect. I am doing a series of interviews, audio interviews, in some cases video, but mostly audio interviews with unconventional women who have taken the step to put their stories out there, to put their voices out there, in the hopes that I can inspire other women to do the same. And so part of the reason that I was speaking at the Black Women Writers Virtual Summit was to do that, to help those of you who are writers or potential writers to know that the book is just step one, and that, there's more opportunities for you to be out there and to be with people, who are just starting your story. And that they can learn something from your story, that they can learn something from the work that you're doing and from however it is that you choose to do storytelling. So really, really excited to have you. So why don't we get right into it so we can get the juice from your story. So introduce yourself to us, please.
Hi, I'm Jelisa Jay Robinson. I'm a writer, playwright. I also have my headphones on right now. I'm a writer and playwright. I'm from Houston, Texas. Mighty city of Houston, Texas. Super proud to be where I'm from. Wasn't always that proud, but where we are and in my space, I'm starting to realize that our stories are so rich and so diverse and so beautiful. So I'm like, I'm from Houston, Texas, Beyonce. Okay. So I started writing, literally been writing my whole life, but I started writing professionally as a playwright, storyteller about 4 or 5 years ago. And I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I dabbled in it in college. I wrote some in high school. I did poetry, did the whole poetry slam type thing, wrote stories, wrote blogs. And then in my last year of college, I took the scenic route and did 6 years.
That's fine. You got through it, right?
Yeah, I got through it. I had a lot of inspiration. So there we go, Yeah. But that last year, I was asking myself, what do I want to do?
Right.
And it really came down to figuring out what I had always done. I started off, okay, I want to be an actress. That was what I wanted to do. And then someone comes up to me and tells me you're just a character actor. You're not a leading lady because you're Black or because you look a certain way or da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, idea, let me write Black women leading ladies who sound look like, and have similar stories as I do. And then that evolved into all these other different stories that I'm exploring. So, that's just a little bit about me. I'm about storytelling, and I'm really at least right now in my career, about elevating the stories of Black women from the diaspora.
That's amazing. Because it's funny, I went to a theater school as well. So theater is my second degree.
Awesome.
And I went to school in Florida, and I heard exactly the same story. That, well, you're as a Black actor, you are a character actor, and
Yes.
that started me in that same direction. And I mean, I'm a non-traditional student, so
Okay.
as theater was my second degree, I started in the theater program at a later age, and so I was the same age as my professors in some cases. And when they were saying that, it was interesting to become a leader in the classroom and say out loud, I said, that doesn't have to be the truth.
Yes,
And so
it doesn't. Like,
so, as somebody
totally true.
who respects teachers, I said, okay, well,
Hello?
let me, can you hear me? Got us?
Yeah, I can hear you
there?
now.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, somebody who
Technical
respects,
difficulties.
it's fine. So, and if something happens, we can always reconnect, and follow up the conversation, and we can edit together. So yeah, somebody who respects teachers, I said, well, let me let this teacher go through their process and let's see where we go. And it was amazing. The teacher separated us in this classroom, in this acting classroom, put the men on one side, put the women on the other side, and then separated all the ethnic women.
Whoa.
And put all the ethnic women on one side, and then put the Caucasian women in the middle, right?
Wow.
And then he kind of separated out the Caucasian women slightly. So like there was a girl who wasn't a size 2, and then so she went with us. And right?
Whoa.
And so I was like, what are we doing? And then I realized, I was like, he's doing typecasting. I was like, he's doing it.
Yeah.
Doing it. And then he started to explain, well, this is how Hollywood sees you. And I was like, and I said, that could be so demoralizing. And I saw the students who were the teenagers, who were like just their early 20s. I saw like their careers in their minds just fracturing. And I said,
wow.
And so it was this thing when I saw it, I said, that is not, number one, I was like, that's not the job of the teacher. Because the teacher could say, that's how it is now, but you have an opportunity to go a different way. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so like that, there's this place. And I said, and after the class, I was like livid. And so I said, it doesn't have to be this way. And he's like, well, this is how it is. And so then after class, all the girls came over to me, except for the 2 girls who had been cast as leading ladies. They, of course, went their own way because they're like, oh, great, we have we're good. And so all the girls came over to me after class.
Yeah, we're good.
And they're like, we see you. And like, you're older. And I said to them, right now, this is right at the time that Issa Rae was starting to take off. And so I had that in my mind. I said, right now, it does not, that may be how it is. But I started to tell the stories of Issa Rae, of Black and Sexy TV. And those things were just starting to, right?
Like that was my thing in college. Like I was just like, oh my gosh, like all these Black people and just the stories and Issa Rae and like the awkward Black girl. Like someone turned me on to that. I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Like she's awkward, like she's this quirky. Yep. And before that, I had only seen quirky. I mean, I know, there's Cree Summers and what's that? There are examples, but like on the scale now where Black women can be all of these varieties. Like you're right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But think about the fact that, I mean, and this is why, going back to your story, you deciding that, you know what, there's an opportunity, as opposed to like, so somebody else would say that and you say that to you as you're a character actor, and you then, instead of like being demoralized like my classmates were, you were like, oh, there's an opportunity, I need to write.
Yeah.
So like so tell us a little bit more about that journey, that you now were one of those people like Issa Rae, like Numa Perrier, like Dennis Dortch, who were like,
oh wow,
I'm going to take it on. So like,
okay.
So tell us about that.
Well, thank you for including me in that circle, people.
Sure.
I love it. I'm going to take it, you know, but that, you know, really started that moment when he told me that. And I was like, you know, I was kind of taken aback. I always try to figure out what people are saying, you know, from a growth standpoint. But then
Nice.
I started writing this play and it was horrible, but there was so much. It was so bad.
It's the first one. It's the first one. It's always garbage. Don't worry.
And I cringed. It was called Ice Cold Milk and an Oreo Cookie, and it was about this Black woman, and she was going up for these auditions, and it was based off of an experience that I had. I went to an audition, and they said, "Give me Black girl," and I knew what they meant. I knew, and I tried my hardest. Wait, where are you going? I just see you going like this, like no, they didn't.
Give us Black girl. God, you just want to like. Sorry. So what did you do?
It was like really, like give me Black girl, and I knew what they meant. I knew what they wanted. I tried it.
You can't do it. You're like. And like, did you do like the little neck roll or what?
I went hard. Like I was like, I feel like I can do it better now because I've had those experiences in life. You know, I taught in my old high school. I grew up in the hood, and so you know, I'm quote unquote supposed to be able to have these experiences. I'm supposed to be, you know. Like there's a way that I'm quote unquote supposed to be, but everybody's not, you know, it's not for everybody. It's not everybody.
And that's not necessarily the Black experience. That's just you, what they meant to say is give us ghetto. Could you give us a little more ghetto? And that's ghetto and Black are not the same. They don't have to be the same. So, yeah, exactly. But hey, tell us about Oreo. The ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie, because yes, that sounds delicious.
Oh my, yeah, and it was good because I had Oreo cookies. I didn't have milk at the show, but I had Oreo cookies at the show, and I wrote this like play that I thought was 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. It actually turned out to be like 15. And
oh my God, I've had that experience too. Go ahead.
You feel me? Like you think it's longer. Like you're just like, yeah. And then you say it to yourself, like you practice in the mirror and you're all the characters. And then it gets up there. It's like 15 minutes. Everybody's like, what? Like, where's the, you know? And it was signed off on. I had the support of one of the only Black professors at my college. He was one of my mentors, like, and he felt me because he said, well, I always get casted like Blair Underwood or the God, or like, he was like a Morgan Freeman type. His voice was like Morgan Freeman. And he became like one of my, like, you know, professors. Like that was like my mentor, you know, he's not with us anymore. He transitioned, but he impacted my life. He impacted my life because he was like, okay, Jelisa, like you can go do this. Like, you know, because I had so many conversations with him about just being Black and in that theater department and being Black woman and, you know, and not being exactly what they wanted or whatever. And okay, I'm going to write my show. And so I wrote the show. I casted all my friends in it. Thank God. They're like, okay. And it was presented. And one of the girls who was in the show, her mom comes up to me and she's like, wow, like, thank you for writing this show. Mind you, it was a horrible, like on a skill standpoint, it was horrible. But the story, you know, the story of the Black woman and people telling her to act more Black and this and that. And like that story was what people resonated with. That
Wow.
was what they took away. And that's what people were telling me. They were like, oh, wow, I liked that happened. And that's a real experience. I've experienced that. And that, even though I struggled with going after my purpose in college, I really did. But even after that, I knew like it was something empowering and something powerful about telling your story, and stories that are like yours,
Right.
Hey, this is a great episode, right? Want to carry the insight from our show wherever you go? Visit myjoyisvaluable.com for the best resources that we've gathered that are inspired by expert guests. Find support for your business, tools to organize your life, and more. That's myjoyisvaluable.com.
So going from college, so like what I really love is that part of your story, like your origin story, is the could be better first work, right? I think this is important for everybody who starts out to understand that the first of whatever it is going to, as you're doing it, you might have a great idea about it and you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then as you put it out there, you're like, wait, oh no, wait a second. Oh, and but it's okay. Just get it out there, because I think it's that perfectionism that prevents a lot of people from like putting it out there. Like I watch movies all the time and I'm like, and I'm like, oh my God, those are 2 hours I won't get back. But, that story's out there. And even if I didn't resonate with it, somebody did. Somebody did it to produce. You know what I'm saying? Like when something gets on the screen, it's not like just one person signed off on it. Like several people had to, so I think
they were like, yeah, let's do this one.
It's great. It's a good job. Let's go. And then like, especially if other actors are involved, like they read the script. So
right.
So
that's true. Yeah, so just get it out there.
Just get out there. Like
even if it sucks, it's okay. Like you'll grow a thick skin, but like even if something sucks, right? Somebody's, like you said, somebody's gonna resonate with it, or you're gonna learn from it, or both, right?
Yep. So like, okay, so going, farther in your story. I think the question then is, so you've gone on since then to, I have your bio and your list of things, a 2-time Fulbright alternative and alumni of the Florence Playwriting Workshop. You've held residencies. You've been part of the Billie Holiday Theater, Fade to Black, 1448 Theater Festival, 1 Minute Play, Latino New Play Festival, Teatro Viva, New African. Like if I keep talking, I'm just going to take up the rest of the time that we have. So tell me how, proud member of the Dramatists Guild and ScriptWorks. So tell me how we move from this play that was sparked from your need to tell a story that resonated with you to where you are now. What happened?
Well, it was a journey of like such a beautiful journey. Like starting off from that play, I was like, okay, I want to be, this, I want to write. But then I kind of got clouded during my college journey with practicality and fear. At the core of it was fear. It's like, I don't know anybody who's writing for a living. I don't know anybody who's writing part-time and getting the type of notoriety that these people that I admire, like the Tyler Perrys, like the Issa Raes. Like, I don't know anybody who's doing that. And so it took me so long until one of the things I did in college with my professor, Stephen Gerald, he sent me and my best friend to Washington, D.C. and New York. The department paid for it. I was really blessed to be able to go. And we wrote up a grant for us two. We were both Black artists, me and my best friend, to go and see other Black artists that are actually working in the field. And I met this playwright. Her name is Jacqueline Lawton. She is a Black woman. She is from Texas, you know, not just from Texas. I believe she's like from, I'm not going to say East Texas. I don't know, but she's from Texas, you know, and she was in DC and her work was being done. She's writing, she's connecting us with different artists. Like her work was being done on these big, you know, the Arena Stage Theater and all these different things. Now she works as a professor. And she writes, and her work is all over the world. She wrote from a multicultural lens, and that was one of the things, because even though I'm Black American, I grew up in Black American and Latino neighborhood space, and so that colored my experience, and that's why I'm able to like speak some Spanish, and I'm very interested in the diaspora as opposed to just being interested in my experience as a Black American. But meeting her, like, that made me see, okay, I can do this.
So,
and from that experience,
No, continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say, from that experience, that inspired me. Like seeing her as a Black woman do that. That was the tipping point that made me, okay, I gotta go home and write. Like I gotta go. So that was like, representation is important. It's definitely important.
So I'm hearing, because I want to pull out the wisdom from your journey, I'm hearing that, number one, you had a professor, you had somebody who saw you, right?
Yeah.
And who saw what potential you had and then encouraged that potential, right? And so, because
definitely
a professor that works with the department to send you somewhere is not a norm, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a privilege. It's not a norm. It was a blessing, you know.
But we can take from that then if we don't see that for ourselves, that we need to find it. So, you know, maybe, you know, I think it sounds like, you know, having a mentor is important, and at least the beginning.
But also, I have to say, from that opportunity, it was that those types of opportunities were things that I saw other people doing.
Gotcha.
And so, like, even though he encouraged me, he helped us, you know, do the grant process. The previous year, I had already gone to him and said, hey, I know you do this. You know, can you put me on for the next year?
Perfect.
You know, like, you know, so I was very like adamant, and sorry, my husband is home. But I was very adamant about seeking those opportunities for myself. That's what I always did. Like,
okay,
as my mom said, closed mouth don't get fed.
Don't get fed. Okay, so that is the wisdom then, because if he didn't just do that thing, you went for him and just said, hey, I know you've done this. Can you do it for me too? So that's amazing.
Yes.
And then to be able then, again, as you said, representation, to match yourself with or find somebody who was doing the work that you could do, so that, you know, just even being next to the people is just, it's a thing. It's a thing to be.
Just being in that space, even virtually, like right now we're in quarantine, you know, even just virtually connecting with those people. Like, you know, I always try to connect with people virtually, even if I can't meet them in person. And then if I can meet them in person, then boom, you know, like, now people are so accessible, and a lot of people, you know, including me, are like looking for opportunities to help others. Like, you know, we're looking for the opportunities to give back. So find the people. But I think that was, you know, not to brag, but I think that was always one of my strengths. Like, I will find somebody. I will get next to the people who are doing what I want to do and just learn from them. And I'm still like that. Like, Let me get with somebody smarter than me, because that's what's going to help me get where I want to go.
Right. And that humility, I mean, that being able to, okay, hey, there's somebody who has the knowledge that I want to have. Let me get as close to them as possible or get right next to them. That is something that will continue, to move your career forward. So, okay, so you go to, I'm sure. So you go to Jacqueline Lawton. And okay, so let's really dig in and get some wisdom here. So you go to Jacqueline Lawton, you see her. Do you just watch her? Do you follow her around? Do you ask her questions? Like, walk us through that trip. You went to the trip. Let's hear it. What happened? I mean, whatever you could say, because
it was a mixture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a mixture. We went to New York. We also went to DC. We met other artists. And again, those artists were amazing and they really informed our journey. But like meeting Jacqueline Lawton, like that was the tipping point for me, because I was a Black woman and seeing her. And so one of the things that we were really blessed to have the opportunity to do, she set up a meeting for us with other artists and dramaturgs and actors and writers and things like that. She sat with us. This is her own time she's taking. She sat with us and told us about her journey and what she did in her playwriting career. She gave us advice. She listened to us and what we were interested in writing and in doing. It was just an honor. Like she was very, thorough and honest with us, about where we were and where we wanted to go. Not only did she do that, she took us to a play, and she's sitting there with her tablet, taking down notes, and we're like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do when you go to a play. Like, you're supposed to be, even if you're not physically writing the notes down, you're supposed to be thinking, oh, how can I add that to my practice? How can I do that? Like, just seeing her. And then she also taught us about community, because this woman, like, brought along 5 or 6 people in DC who were like heavy hitters working at these theaters and stuff. So obviously part of it's not just about being a dope writer. Right. Part of it is about building your community. And a lot of these people were on the come up with her. And so I took from that, like looking back, throughout thinking about what I got from this experience, I took from that too, like, not only, am I supposed to go to like, the Katori Halls and the Lin-Manuel Mirandas, but I need to go to people who are like with me. We're on the come up, like, or who are a little higher than me, or maybe this higher than me to learn from. Yeah. Or maybe, they're just starting out. I learn a lot from people who are just starting out, because they have the passion that when I began, and I still have this passion, but their passion is a little, it's a little new. It's exciting.
Fresh.
And they remind it's fresh. Exactly. It's fresh. And they're reminding me that a play, when you write a play, is to play. It's fun. Like, I got to take that with me still to have fun with this thing. Because this is a passion, but it's also supposed to be fun. Yeah. So I learned a lot. Now that you're having me reflecting. What are you, a therapist?
That's all right. So wait a second. So how do you, is reminding yourself that it is a play? Because I like my part of the writing, because I write as well. My part of the writing is, I did a play, a one-woman play, years ago.
Oh, seriously?
Garbage. It was garbage. Same thing. The same thing. And I performed it and everything was horrible. And
wow.
But it got out there, right? It's like, okay, well, we did it. And okay, but the play part, what are you doing to keep the play in being a playwright?
Oh, that has been a journey too, because I used to be so serious about it. Yeah. And part of it is connecting to people who connect. I have some friends who are in different genres. And, some friends who write fantasy, friends who write poetry, friends that are doing things that are way different from what I'm doing, but we're still in the same, we're still writing, right? And just listening to the excitement that they like, keeping connected to people who are excited about the work. Like, that's one of the things. I also use a lot of like coloring things and things that get me like excited. I have like sticky notes and stuff like that.
I see them.
I love, with my projects on them and like things like that, but it's cute. It's physical. I listen to a lot of music that inspires me. Like I take breaks. You gotta you gotta take breaks sometimes. Yep. Like you can't just, like a part of being a writer, as you know, because you are one, is you're getting, like, if you haven't lived.
Right. You have nothing to write. Nothing. Ain't nothing to write.
That's so true.
But see, that was the reason why that one woman play I did, I was like, oh, I got some ideas, but I had nothing to write. I didn't have the lived experience yet. I mean, it was a great idea. It just didn't have the experience undergirding it. So the play, yes. For those of you who are just be listening to this online, if you wonder why we're both laughing, it's because I cannot control my face. And my face is making all kinds of weird, like I'm doing all kinds of weird
I love it.
Facial expressions, and it's just how we play on this audio series. But
you got to be yourself.
Yes. So okay, so tell us. So you play. So you play. You're doing the things to play. And okay, so I have like a series of questions that I like to ask. I've gotten to one out of all of them because your stuff is so juicy. So it's all right. So here's
okay. You're enjoying it. Like you're playing.
Okay. You've got to enjoy it too. You've got to enjoy it too. So okay. So what keeps you in the work? That's the question. So you're playing, right? So that helps keep you fresh, and connecting with people, mentoring them, working with your peers, and working with the people a little bit, further along. But what keeps you in the work? Because, I mean, hey, I'm sure there are days where you're like, you know what? Walmart time.
I have a day job as a teacher. So that right now I have a day job, one day.
As do I.
Look, we're like, hey. One day, I hope to be, no, I will be, you got to change that narrative.
But you are. I mean, the list of accomplishments that is on this bio that will be posted with this interview, the teaching didn't stop you from all of that. So you're already there.
It just informs it. It informs it. It gives me a life experience. And I think that's one of the reasons I've been able to go so hard at this, because I teach theater. Thank God. I'm not teaching math. And I teach theater, and I'm able to tell these kids like the real. I've taught high school, now I'm in elementary. And with the elementary babies, like I'm able to be like, oh, Miss Robinson's not just teaching this stuff. Like, honey, she does this. Like, and with my high school kids, I was able to relate to them on a level because some of them had crazy big dreams. And they would always be coming to me, oh, Miss Robinson, how I want to be a musician. I want to do this, like very unconventional paths, especially from somebody coming from poor working class. Like, it's usually like, bro, if you smart, like, let's go be a doctor.
Right.
I don't blame you, and I would tell them, I would be able to tell them the real, like, you can pursue that dream. In fact, you should.
Right.
Because that's what's in your heart to do. And you cannot give up, right? You might have to get a day job. You might have to be a teacher. You might have to, work in Walmart for a minute. Like whatever you have to do in order to pursue that dream. Teaching has allowed me to keep going in this dream. Not only does it give me the creative, because like dealing with kids, it is a master class in emotions, in dramatic structure, in non-linear storytelling. Have you ever listened to
an elementary school child
story? Like they gonna take you around the world,
and then afterwards we went and ate apples.
Yes. Miss Robinson, I just have to tell you that it's my third cousin on my mother's side birthday, and we're about to go have a party. Oh, really, honey? Okay. Like it gives me so much, and so because I'm investing in the future, and I'm telling these kids that this is my dream. Like my high school students would hold me accountable. Yeah. The little kids find it exciting. Another thing that keeps me going, not just like my teaching journey, but what keeps me going is just like, I know this is my God-given purpose. Like I've tried to do other things and, because of fear, your hand goes up. I've tried to do so many other things because of fear and say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But my heart, when I write, when I am at rehearsal, even when it's stressful, when I'm angry and at the characters and frustrated and someone's giving me all this bad feedback and I'm like, oh my God, I thought it was good. Even at that moment, writing, it just gives me joy. It gives me peace to be able to tell these stories and just to see the breadth of people who are able to find themselves in my story, and actors who are able to get paid, but Black actors and Latino actors and Afro-diasporic people able to engage in these stories and act them and see them and see them. So I have to do this. This is my passion. This is what I love. This is what I'm crazy about. And I will never, ever stop and say I'm going to give up. I've thought about it. Mm-hmm. I've had moments, but I'm not going to give this up because this dream I feel like it's bigger than me. Okay, I didn't mean to go off.
Why are you apologizing? That's exactly what people need to hear. Like the things that you said, it gives you peace. Like I think people keep searching for, well, what is it I'm supposed to do? And am I in the right place? And that answer, does it give you peace? Like when you're there, do you feel, even though you're doing work, and I think people are afraid of hard work. And most of the hard work that we're now doing, we're no longer doing like industrial labor. Most of the hard work that we're now doing is inside, right? And so you're really articulating, that's it. Like it's the peace. If you are moving all over the place and you don't feel peace, then you're not in the right place. But if you just settle and you just listen to yourself and you listen to the feedback that you're getting, like you're saying you have the joy that you see these, like thinking of people who were just like you, who didn't have their stories being told. And now you are the answer to them. And then that gives you peace. It's still hard work. Of course it's work, but the work is, and making sure that there's a craft, because if you're writing, most people think, oh, that was a great story. I was like, yes, that's like the 8th draft. And, and it was workshopped twice. And the first time, the main character was actually somebody who walked in the room. And now I feel like we realize that's the main character.
Yes.
I thought it was going to be in Houston, Texas. It's actually in Alaska.
Had to spend a year doing research about Alaska because I'd never been there.
Never been to Alaska. The story has to take place in Alaska. And that's the thing, that non-linear thing about how you and I'll say it because you're talking to a teacher as well, and I feel you on that.
Hey, all right, teacher.
What? And it's this thing where you've got to be okay with the non-linear. Like, you've got the thread, and you've got to have the patience to follow the thread. You know, so I applaud you in just continuing to do that kind of work. And you know what, I one of my questions for you was going to be talk about your mentors. And because, like, as a teacher, like, we all, you know, that you can't get to where you are without somebody having, you know, given you a hand in some way. Like, we all have the initiative. Like, you took the initiative. You said to the professor,
we do,
hey, you did it, like, help me. But on the other side of that, he said yes. You know,
that's true.
So what, where do you feel, you know, in following the thread of your passion, have there been other mentors that have helped you, and where did you find those?
Can I say that there have been I wish I could name 100.
Okay.
I wish I could name 100,000. There have been so many people. And now that we're in quarantine, I really think about that a lot. Just the many people who have guided me and helped me. As far as a writer, my first mentor would have to be my mom. Because funny story, probably not funny, but in the 4th grade, she took my essay that I wrote, and it had, you know, it didn't have any descriptive words. It was just like, I like this, I want to do this, and she tore it up.
Wow.
But what she did was say, okay, now we're gonna start over, and I'm gonna teach you how to write descriptive language. I'm gonna teach you how to put adjectives and all these different conventions together to create an essay that is beautiful to hear, because she is a great writer as well. My family is very artistic. It's no wonder that I'm in the arts field, because it's like my family loves art in different forms. And that moment kind of taught me just the value of telling your story, but telling it in the most beautiful way possible to you. And she was my first mentor. There were other mentors. I have a teacher in high school that I still talk to. Her name is Miss Smith, and she's also a playwright as well. And she was very, like, just how she taught me that it was okay to be weird. It was okay to be Black and weird. And expressive and theatrical, and it's okay to be you. Like, to see a Black woman do that, and it was just, I didn't know what it was when I was in the 10th grade, but, you know, I later, as I'm thinking about my life, that's what it was. I enjoyed her so much because she was herself. And that's very powerful for a Black woman, or anybody, not just a Black woman, but anybody to be. You know, definitely Jacqueline Lawton. I have a mentor right now that, oh my God, it's just so many people. I wish I could name everybody. But one of my mentors, her name is Inda Craig Galvan, and she is a writer, a TV writer. She writes plays. She's amazing. And she took the time. Like I said, I reached out to her because I thought she was cool. I thought,
because that was my next question. How did you get your mentor? So go ahead.
I reached out to her. Like, I ran across her story. She kind of had like a similar background to me. She had some stories that weave Latinx culture into them, and she was also, from what I understood, like, she was also a Black woman. And so, you know, just seeing that, and so I asked her, I emailed her after I added her on Facebook. She added me back. Like, you know, don't be afraid to hit that. Like,
right,
you know,
right.
And all they can do is, like, either accept or reject you. Like, that's the truth. And so she adds me on Facebook. I start kind of talking to her. I end up going to see her play because it was in Houston. and I see her and like she's like, "Hey, Jelisa," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she knows me." Like, and I reach out to her and I'm like, "Hey, can you be my mentor? Like, can you be my mentor? Can we meet at so and so time, da da da, right?" And so she said yes. She could have said no. She's a very busy lady.
Right.
She has stuff to do. Like, it's very possible that people that you reach out to might say no, and that's okay. It's usually not you. It's usually like the time constraints or whatever's going on in their life, right? And so when you're looking for a mentor, you want somebody that can give you that time, whatever it is, whatever time that they can give. If it's once every six months we meet up and I school you on the game of writing or whatever, cool. If it's once every month, we did like a once every month thing for like a year, about a year and a half. And it was just such a beautiful experience because she really asked me the real questions. I think she held me accountable when she would read my work. It wasn't just like, "Oh, Jelisa, this is great." No, like,
like, what does that do? Like I talk to my students all the time. I'm like, please don't tell me tell each other that you like the thing or you don't like them. Feedback.
Oh my God. Yes.
Feedback on character development, feedback on facial expression, feedback on voice. Don't tell people you don't like it. Tell us why.
Tell us why.
Give feedback. Don't give opinions. So
yes. Yes. Like, I'm clapping because like that's and like for me, I've grown in that area because I always knew, okay, I want real feedback, but in the beginning, I know that, and these are one of the things I've learned from some of my mentors now, and even my mom told me that. She's like, listen, right? Take what you need. Usually, if people are repeating it over and over again, it might be something you need to look at.
True.
But you take what you need, and the rest, push it to the side. But don't be afraid of feedback. And that's like a life lesson. It's not just a writing lesson. Like, don't be afraid of feedback. And that's what she taught me. Cause like, you're going to get feedback. Like, you want to be better. I don't want so I've had super awesome experiences working on my plays where people would be like, "Oh my God, this is great. This is super awesome." But the most challenging experiences is when someone, some of the plays I've worked on, and someone was in my face like, "Okay, you need to think about this, 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 this." They started like, it was like a song.
Wow.
And I was just, and that was a good experience because that's kind of how the industry is. Like, yeah, you're here obviously because you're great. So now let's get to brass task here. Like, we gotta break it down and make this better. And so, I believe in encouraging because I am a teacher, but also I believe in critique and criticism, but positive criticism.
Right. Well, and I would say that for me, being told the truth is empowering, right? Like, because then, like, I know, like, whenever I get a rejection letter, my response is, "Great, can you give me feedback?" like tell me tell me what went out wrong, And so if it's just, "Hey, we didn't have space for you this year. It was great." Fine. But then that tells me, okay, apply again. But if it's like, if I don't get anything, I don't know, was something unclear? Was something really clear, but you're definitely barking up the wrong tree? So I think, we just have to get used to, and then that's the other thing as well. Something, cause I'm very sensitive.
Yes.
Right?
Me too.
What I had to,
oh my gosh.
Oh God. What I had to get used to was with criticism, removing the tone out of what people say to me, because somebody could say like, "Your hair is on fire," right? Very true. about to burn my skull, but then they say it a certain way, and I'm like, I don't want to hear what you're saying. Hair on fire, and about to burn me up, and it's just how they said it. So I had to learn how to remove the tone out of it, and then just listen to, like, okay, what are they saying? What is the person saying that you can take out of it, and just take the personality and all that stuff out of it. So amazing that you're talking about that. Just listening to feedback, and that this mentor, took the time, and gave you a year, really, and I don't know if you've continued, but gave you that time just to foster you, is amazing. Like, okay,
she did that. We still talk and everything.
Right.
And she's amazing. Like, very great supporter of just my work, and man. So I really appreciate that experience.
Wow. So, okay, so we're going to ask a couple of questions just to get to the nitty gritty of helping. So part of the reason that this audio series exists is not just to introduce people to women like you who are amplifying their voices, who are getting the stories out there, who are serving others. Because as a teacher, you're definitely serving others with your storytelling, your voice, right? It's also to get to the how, right? So it's a lot of why, and a lot of us have, we know the whys, but now how, right? So we heard how you got your mentor, which is awesome. So a couple of other hows that I'm going to ask you. How do you practice writing? So what's your writing day or your writing time look like?
Well, I'm just going to say this. A lot of people say, oh, like, just when the inspiration hits me. I think that's real. That is valid in some situations, maybe if you're taking a break or whatever. But writing is a muscle. And what I've found that works for me, your process might be different, but my process is I have to write almost every day. I say almost every day because sometimes things happen, life happens, yada, 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 but I have to write. I give myself at least 15 minutes, to write every day, whether it's a journal entry, whether I'm working on rewrites, whether I'm working on, a new play idea, whether I'm, whatever, whether it's I'm working in rehearsal and going through my script and annotating, doing notes and things like that. I really find it important to write every day because my mom will always tell me, well, what do writers do, Jelisa? Writers.
Hey, right.
Right.
You're right.
Like, you're right. Like, it's really no way around that. And then, it's part of my writing process is writing, but it's also building that community and getting feedback when the time is right. And you'll know when the time is right because you'll be kind of done with it at that moment. Or you'll have done the third rewrite, or it'll be an external factor like a deadline. Like,
right.
Well, it's time to get feedback now. And so I have friends that I can send a script to that I trust, work with people that you trust, who won't take your ideas or whatever, because that's important.
Now, do you have any things like NDAs or anything like that with these people you share?
Well, the people that I have shared with in the past, we were close enough to not have that issue at this moment. But I do believe it is smart as I am growing and connecting with more people and sharing my work with more people. That has become a thing that I've been doing. And also like getting copywriting, getting my stuff registered on Dramatists Guild website. Copyright has been mainly what I've been doing. I've been paying for that copyright for that draft of my scripts is so important. And then also building a paper trail of my scripts. There's something called the New Play Exchange, which is where playwrights from all over post their work. You can either post like a sample or you can post the whole play, and theaters actually find you. It costs a little bit. I'm not sure. It costs like, I think I have to look it up of how much it costs, but it's like a yearly subscription fee, and you post up there, but then also you can read so many new plays that are coming out.
Wow.
And you get to read them. And so some people on that website elect to put their whole script up. Some people say, I'm going to just put samples. Some people just put the description, and then there's like, you can contact them. That's what I've been doing lately, because I've been doing kind of rewrites and making sure that I get those copyrights to my work. That's important. That is important, to get those copyrights to your work, because you're putting your stuff out there. It is, I would invest, if I invest in nothing else, you know, I mean, get for your work.
Yeah, as part of my series, I'm going to have an IP attorney talk about that, because I think we just, you know, especially as a teacher. So I would say for you as a teacher, I'm sure there's curriculum that, you know, can be copywritten too. So good. So we have writing as a muscle. We talked about the mentorship. I'm looking at my list over here if you see me turn. Okay, so what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
I wish I knew to be a better advocate for my work. And that's one thing. And I wish that I recognized my greatness back then. I wish I recognized that. I wish, you know, I wasn't out here in the beginning. I was comparing myself a lot. I wish I recognized how blessed I was to just, you know, mine is a little abnormal. What happened to me, you know, it was purely God. Like, out of the gate, when I decided to be a playwright, my work got picked up by a theater. And then they did it in a festival, and then they produced it. And
that's uncommon. So that's uncommon.
I wish, you know, but I wish I would have recognized my greatness, and not to say, oh, you know, I know everything, or that everything that I write is amazing, but just everybody has a greatness inside of them. And I remember walking into places where my stuff was in the festival, and I'm over here acting like, you know, I'm acting so small, like, you know, like, oh no, you know, it's not mine. You know, I wish I could have just been like, no, like, that is my work, that's my story. And, you know, I really appreciate, you know, instead of saying, when people compliment you, saying, oh, this whole thing, I was doing that a lot.
Wow.
Oh, this play, you know, oh really? When I should have just been like, you know, thank you so much. That's what I've grown to say, is the thank you so much. I had a lot of imposter syndrome, and
that was on the list right there. You got it. Thank you.
There we go. We're in sync, like the band. There we go.
So, but just seriously though, about the imposter syndrome, you're talk about what that looks like for a playwright.
It looks like walking into rehearsals and just, I believe that, like, every play, when I go to rehearsals and I see my plays done, like right now, you know, some of my work is being done on Zoom and stuff like that because of the pandemic.
It's great.
Even though, yes, like, I'm excited, and it's still joyful for me that people want to do my words. But I think now, like, I have it like, yeah, like, I'm supposed to be here, you know, and it's taken a lot of, like, me telling myself I'm supposed to be here, and actually listening to the things that people say about me, like, you know, that not just my mom, but people who I've worked with, you know, who are uplifting me, and to actually take those things and to internalize it to where it's mine. I'm saying this about myself. I have this purpose and this passion. I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be here. God, this is just my,
That's all right.
the way that I believe, my journey. But God already knew that I was supposed to be in these spaces, and apparently I'm supposed to be there. That's been the journey for me. And I don't care if you're a new writer, if you've been writing for 50 years, whatever, where you are, the awesome opportunities that come to you, you are supposed to have those. You deserve them. Like, seriously, you do, and not just in writing, but in life. The beautiful things, you deserve them. Like, a lot of times it's not, that we don't enjoy them, but I think if I would have believed that I deserved them, I would have gotten so much more out of those experiences in the beginning.
Wow.
And then also, one more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
Advocate for your work, sis. Advocate for your work, especially in the beginning. People, directors, if you have an opportunity to be in the room, I'm not saying all directors, but some directors will take liberties, a lot of liberties. That's going to happen, especially once you get bigger and once your plays start going all over the world, because that's what's going to happen.
Speak it.
You're like, hey, we got to speak this. Once that happens, you're not going to have as much control. That's life. You can't, unless you have a director that's hitting you up like, hey, I really want to change that sentence. Or instead of using a man, I want to use a woman, Mm-hmm. Unless you have one of those directors, it's just not, you can't control everything. Right. But what you can control, if you are in the same city or the same state and it's financially feasible at the moment for you to travel, I would recommend you go to those rehearsals, you see, because sometimes people get excited about the story and they're excited. They love the story. They feel connected to it. And so they change things based off of their experience. And it might not align with what you wrote. Right. Straight up. Right. And that happened to me my first show. I loved my first show. I'm grateful for my first show. It put my work in the ears of people. But, there was some things that happened that I didn't write. And some of those were the things that people were excited about. And I was like, I didn't write that. And so looking back, I wish I would have been more hands-on with that process. And I've learned, if I can be hands-on, I can be. But luckily I've had really dope directors who, if they're going to change something or whatever, they hit me up first.
Right, which is good, because that's just respecting you as a storyteller. If I was attracted enough to the work to bring it and produce it, then just sticking, and this is something I teach my students, that every word was chosen. And the same thing with film, every scene was chosen. If you see it on the screen, then editors were argued with, directors chose, cinematographers, actors, blah, blah. Everything on the screen, every frame on the screen was chosen. And for you as a writer, every word is your blood, sweat, and tears. You switched that for them, so you agonize that much.
Say that.
So if that's right. So the least I can do is make sure that every word gets on stage. So my acting students, they're like, Miss Street, this is not it doesn't sound like what I would say. That's what playing a character is about.
You're playing a character, exactly. Yes.
Character. So we laugh about it, but I'm just that's part of you, and an actor, that's part of your discipline, is embodying the words. Right.
Exactly.
So, oh my gosh, advocate for your work, sis. All right. So, a couple more questions, and then we're gonna let you go. A couple more questions. I love it. All right. So,
this is fun.
Yeah, I try. Okay. So, have you ever dealt with a public loss? or a loss in public. I'll say it that way.
Oh wow. I'm not gonna tell you exactly what it is.
Sure. You can, and if you want to skip,
But
that's too. That's fine.
no, I want to talk about it because I feel
Sure.
like this is important. Like it's so important to just be vulnerable. I hate when people, well, I don't hate, but that's a strong word. But I don't like when people, especially writers, and then they'll hide that, oh, they have a day job, or oh, this and that. You know, like I like learning about the process. And so I'm here to share my process, and hopefully it can help somebody. Public loss, I would say, oh my gosh, in the beginning of this whole career, a lot of people would confuse me for something that I wasn't based off of the stories that I wrote. And I had quite a few people, you know, it was a really close community to me, a close group of people who I thought were my friends. And they got so angry that they wrote articles just they wrote one article. Okay, I'm exaggerating. They wrote one article just kind of degrading my character. Yeah, like, and it wasn't, they didn't put my name in it. They were very smart because, you know, that's legally, that's wrong.
Right. That's
but it hurt
libel.
So much to have people people say things that weren't true about me, because I really tried to be a good person. I really try to be as honest and transparent as possible. And what I learned from that situation was, you know, that maybe I need to be even more transparent. So I had people in my corner saying, okay, like, this is a sucky situation. Like, yes, like, they're rude. Yes, they're jerks, whatever. But what can you learn going into the situation, you know, going forward? And so I've learned to be even more, I thought for me, what I was doing was translating as transparent. But having outside voices and outside friends who are honest with me about it, like, hey, you know, maybe you can do this, right? And then once I did those things, and if they're still mad, you know, if it's still confusing, then it's not on me, you know. And it's like, that hurt so much. And for a long time, it was like a year or two, I still, like, I look back on that year and I was like, okay, I was still writing. I was still doing stuff. I was still doing workshops. I was, you know, putting on little plays here and there. But that really stopped me from being the greatest that I could have that year.
Wow.
It didn't stop me. I allowed it to stop me.
Ooh.
And that's the truth. Like, I allowed it. I carried on you know, what they said about me. And I was so angry and bitter about it for years and years, and up until like recently.
Wow.
To which I had to do like some spiritual, you know, talking to God about like forgiveness, because forgiveness is important. And I had to realize, you know, well, what can I learn from this situation? And I recently saw them. And because I hadn't seen them in like years. And like, honestly, if this airs and they hear it, I honestly don't care. And also I'm about to put my I need to put my charger into the computer really. Okay.
And we only have a few more questions, so.
No, that's totally fine. Yeah, and I haven't seen them in years. But when I saw them, you know, just to think about who I was in that moment when that was happening to me, the growth that I've experienced, you know, like, it was like a movie. It's like, it was like a movie. And to just see them and to just have the confidence that I have, and to know that I did right. And if I'm the only person that knows that, which I'm not, but like, if I'm the only person that knows that, then that's okay. It hasn't hindered my career like they said it would. It hasn't done any of those things. I am still here. And that to me, like, you just have to keep going. And what that showed me is that I'm doing something right. You know, yes, I learned from the experience. I took what I was, maybe I could be a little bit more transparent. I learned how to do these things, so I humbled myself. I did. But it also taught me, like, the stories that I'm writing. I'm on to something right here.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from that situation. Like, like, I did. That was, woo.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Because I think that's the other thing about when we amplify our voices, there are things that are going to happen, right? So we're amplifying everything around it. We're amplifying whatever works and whatever isn't working and needs to come to the light. And so, I'm sorry that happened to you. And I'm also happy that was exposed, like, because if those people were around you as you grew, better then than now, and something bigger happened, and then it's them being that kind of negative force around you will detract from where you need to go. So
definitely,
I think all of us who amplify our voices have to be okay with having some things uncomfortable and disconcerting revealed. So I'm glad you were able to move through that. So your favorite quote. What's your favorite quote?
Okay. Oh man, my favorite quote that I say all the time is "Faith without works is dead."
Yeah,
I always say that.
You are absolutely an example of that. You are absolutely an example of that, because you've been working. Let me see. So, do you have? And this is a nod to one of my favorite interviewers who has since made his transition, James Lipton. Do you have a favorite curse word?
Oh, favorite cuss word. I have a lot of favorite cuss words. I would have to say, I say shit a lot. I really do. That's like very humbling. I say that word a lot. I have no idea why. There's like a reference to it in Madagascar when he says sugar, honey, iced tea, the lion, and I'm like, whoa, that's a kid's show. Like,
they don't know what it means. They'll be okay.
But I got it. Like, as an adult, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that has to be my favorite one. That's awesome. My God, I like a lot of characters, even characters that love God. Like, say that word in my place.
That's fine.
Like, that's so real.
So it's a real word. So let me see. So if heaven could be created on earth, what would your contribution be?
I would be still writing. Like, that's what I love to do. I mean, maybe I would make people laugh with, like, just the way I am. I'm not a comedian, but I can be silly. I can be so silly. And so I would, just make people laugh with my quirky silliness.
Awesome. And what are you grateful for today?
Oh my God, I'm grateful for so much. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you inviting me to do this. I'm just grateful for your spirit. Just like, even though we were on a call, I'm like, dang, I want to hang out with her. Like, I'm grateful for you, man. Like, seriously, I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful to, for the journey. I'm grateful for my husband. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful that I'm cute. Hey! Did you snap on that? You better snap, because you're cute too. Okay? I'm just grateful. That's a beautiful question. What are you grateful for?
Oh, wow. I'm grateful for this idea. This was completely God's idea, because I don't need one more thing to do. And so I just don't. And God's like, this is something you can do during quarantine. So just start this. Let me just do the series for me. So I said, okay, all right. I'm like, I don't really feel like doing all this. And I said, all right, well, if that's the case, then you need to find me people to say yes, God. And God's like, well, sure. They're everywhere.
I got you.
Ask something different. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for a very, very creative spirit, but grateful for people who support my work. So this was a great conversation. I really appreciate your time. I will be following.
So happy.
Oh yay! So this is our part of our audio interview series, where we're going to be introducing women who have amplified their voices in interesting ways. And we are excited to have interviewed Jelisa Robinson, the writer. Jelisa, the writer. So tell us where we can find
Jelisa Jay Robinson.
Yes, ma'am. Jelisa Jay Robinson. So
hello.
tell us where we can find you. Give us your Instas, your LinkedIn's, your things.
Okay. Well, you can find me JelisaJayRobinson.com. That's my website. But if you really want to find me, I'm on Instagram, and my Instagram is Jelisa the Writer. Jelisa the Writer 1. Mm-hmm. And then it's spelled Jelisa the Writer 1. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's where everybody knows how to spell.
I hope everybody knows how to spell the writer.
I mean, the way maybe the way I say it, it could sound like writer.
No, we're gonna assume that everybody knows how to spell the writer. Like you spelled out the important thing, so
they got it.
Got it. Okay, great. So Jelisa Jay Robinson, and it was an absolute pleasure. I'll be following up with you with other information on where to see. But this was awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to 10,000 Women, 10,000 Stages. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Find us at 10,000women10,000stages.com.